What you're seeing here is a Swan, right? And this is a private credit investment platform. This is finance that has captured uh, sort of the imaginations that you would find in true nature, and they've brought that into it. I love the mock-ups of how they've balanced this serif font in a app UI. I think that's a very hard thing to do. And
It
if
is.
when done well, right? This is an example of it done well. When done well, it looks beautiful. Um, and I think it adds a little bit of that extra flavor that I think this is because this is private credit, I would imagine they would have higher ticket clients. And those higher ticket clients are looking for a more world-class experience, a more lucrative experience, an exquisite experience through the app, and that's something that they get.
Sure.
This is of a more of a modern studio. They're called Primary, and what they do is basically they sell brand sprints. So you get a world-class brand built within a 1 week time period. They deal, I think, mostly with startups. And with startups, speed is the number one priority.
True.
Um, and anything to get you up to market, or anything that can make you go to market quickly is going to be a valuable proposition. So this is one of those studios that does this. They call it a brand sprint. And I really like this one example. It's called Heron. And I believe this is a financial product. It is a digital investment platform for investing in private credit. Right. So another thing about this case study is from right off the bat, you have this introduction that gives you an idea and a context more than just the visuals, right?
Right.
At times when we're building our portfolios, we only want to have the visuals, but the context is very important. So that's something that they have here, which is great to see. But getting into the actual logo and the identity, the Heron logo is basically just a word mark with, I think the H is of
It's modified.
most importance. It's different, right? Um, it has a little bit of that organic, natural feel to it that I think they brought back in the sort of illustration style that they created for it. So what you're seeing here is a swan, right? And this is a private credit investment platform. This is finance that has captured uh, sort of the imaginations that you would find in true nature, and they've brought that into it. I love the mock-ups of how they've balanced this serif font in a app UI. I think that's a very hard thing to do. And
It
if
is.
when done well, right? This is an example of it done well. When done well, it looks beautiful. Um, and I think it adds a little bit of that extra flavor that I think this is because this is private credit, I would imagine they would have higher ticket clients. And those higher ticket clients are looking for a more world-class experience, a more lucrative experience, an exquisite experience through the app. And that's something that they get with the font style itself. And adding to that, you have this sort of swan illustration that is going to keep coming up in many different areas, including the app itself, um, including these sort of magazine physical mock-ups that they're showing here. And again, like you're going to see that. And once again, here in sort of the social media imagery as well. So you tell me, like, what do you think about this overall brand so far?
Right. I went through this one, figured out Heron, the name, it's the bird actually.
Correct.
And if you think about it, as far as the logo mark is concerned, it's just a word mark, right? And
Correct.
the H is modified. Apart from that, it's a simple, like with light serifs on the side. It's super simple. It works.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the reason it's memorable is because how it has been able to balance the color palette.
Yes.
It's not a common color palette for a finance brand. That matte orange, right? That specific color of blues and the greens as well. The way they
Correct.
have been able to do it, kind of, if you have to think about it, the moment I say Gucci or a Louis, Louis Vuitton or a Versace, a specific kind of visual comes into your mind. Versus when I say Celine or Brunello Cucinelli, it's a very quite luxury kind of feeling, or a Burberry, right? I think
Correct.
this is this one. This is for quite luxury, and as you said, it's for private credit, so that's their clientele as well. Pretty sure
Yeah.
their clients are wearing Brunello Cucinelli, probably.
Yeah.
And so it works perfectly. And that bird illustration, I think you can call it a mascot.
Yeah.
They've been able to use it as in various facets, like diversify your portfolio. The bird is looking in the water, and we've inverted the bird as W money. I think it's a super use of restraint on, because they have less time. It's a brand sprint, so restraint
Correct.
plays a super crucial role, and they have been able to find a key balance with this. I really like this.
Yeah. Absolutely. Even within 1 week's time, Bratin, I don't know the exact, schedule of this project. Maybe sometimes it does go over that.
Mm.
But within 1 week's time, if we imagine doing this level of work is really impressive.
Yeah.
Um, like you said, the color palette is super tasteful. I think it
Mhm.
captures the target audience really well. It is
Right.
something that is different. It feels like they took inspiration. They went to a art history museum and they took inspiration from a classical painting, and that's where
Mhm.
their color palette came from, rather than us when we go to Adobe color palettes, right? Or we go to Tailwind UI generator, we go to Color Hexa, we go to all these online platforms, even Pinterest, to find new color palettes to use in a project. I really feel they sourced this from a non-conventional um, a non-conventional seed, and that's
Right.
where they brought it from. So I really feel like they went above and beyond, outside of the box, with the thinking behind that color palette, the way all of the colors work together, especially in the financial graphs, as you can see.
Mhm.
Like these are the exact same. That's the exact same gold used in the brand, the exact same green, and yet like the financial graphs done super well like this, the different UI patterns, it is really impressive. I really like this project a lot, and I could imagine myself using this product all day, every day, because it's just how beautiful this experience looks.
If
And
we go down to the next mock-up ones,
yes,
yeah. I mean, here, if you look at the bird and the shading on the, like the top wing, the white wing,
yes,
and the
yes,
blue wing as well, and the glass,
yes,
like the reflection of the glass, the water inside with the light brush strokes on the side. You're
yes,
surely right. They have taken inspiration from paintings for sure. It's
yes,
shaded that way. Brilliant.
absolutely. Absolutely. And again, like we talked about the private credit industry, what kind of target market do they have? Maybe these people are probably art collectors in some fashion, right?
Surely, yeah.
Or they're interested in the arts in that way, that they want to go on and collect in the future as they build up their capital. So the way that the
That's why the
swan
serif font
looks,
works as well.
exactly. Exactly. Everything just works together as a package. The painting illustration style just reminds me of something you would see on the wall when you walk into someone's mansion. So really incredible, incredible project. And big kudos to the primary studio team that is behind this to get this done within one
Right.
week, as they promise. It's unimaginably impressive. And I look up to this and I want to embody this sort of a branding project in my next run, right? This
Mhm.
is the level of quality that I want to create, and I'm inspired by this stuff. Um, and so like there's more stuff here. There's icons, there's patterns that we didn't even get into, but like I'll just say
Right.
this was an impressive project, and
Even from a business perspective, if you think
yes,
about it, if you have to like stand out in the fintech space, in the credit space, super difficult because there's so many brands. But the moment you say that I'm not competing on the same parameters itself, then it's
right,
different. If your illustrations look like artwork, you have a color palette that's fashion inspired, art inspired, it just
right.
immediately grabs attention. And then, I mean, your CAC probably reduces for this.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. And
Super.
it's a similar thing you see with Equinox, for example. When you look at gyms within the United States, you have Planet Fitness, and you have retro fitness, you have other gyms like that, that like to be very colorful, very outlandish. But Equinox comes in through the door and they start out being very crisp, being very minimalist, having that sort of high tech luxury quality. And they charge prices differently for that too. So a lot of this is based on positioning, as you said, Bratin, is it's a
Mhm.
business perspective. It's a strategy to position yourself in a completely different hemisphere than all the other people that are already there. And it's a big commitment. I'll tell you firsthand, I've seen this with clients. It's a big commitment for a client to get on board with something that is so very different from what you would
Mhm.
expect to be done, for example, in the fintech space. Like this brand, from looking at it for a while, it reminds me a lot of Mailchimp, and I'm not sure if you're
Mhm.
familiar with it, right?
Right.
But Mailchimp has sort of this colorfulness, this sort of a natural feel with the
Mhm.
chimp as the mascot instead of a heron or a swan.
That was
um
kind of the first time like that playfulness what was brought in the like the email space, newsletter
yes,
space. Right.
exactly. Within SaaS in general, I would say
In
too.
general, yeah.
And now we're seeing it appear in the fintech space too, which is really impressive. So yeah, again, we could
Pretty sure
talk.
they'll be able to take some, some risks in the UI part as well when they're making their app. They'll be
Oh
able to have
yeah,
a big text of a serif because like if the clientele is like that, then it's fine. It works.
yeah,
You don't have to think
correct,
about retention and
correct, correct. Yeah,
right.
yeah. These mockups are not
Yeah.
very detailed in the form of maybe what I would open my fintech app. What I would actually see is like
Mhm.
long menu lists of items. But in part, if this app does look like this, and I think they've done a really impressive job of telling the same story consistently across the touch points, which is a
Mhm.
really important thing, I think, Breton, that a lot of people miss out on is they'll do really well in the logo part, in the brand identity part, but when they have to bring it into the website or even that step
Mhm.
further into the product UI, they let go of a lot of those principles and they say, no, we're just going to keep it templatized. We're going to keep it to this standard, you know, and not try to open up um, the brand as much as it should be across those touch points. So that's something again we're seeing that's done really well here.